Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Mia, who is going to be the next premier recruit coming to RTS. Visually on the right hand side we can see she looks quite different than her OG 6-star version, and that was the only other Mia that we've had in the game, but there is a kind of nod to that 6-star version because the cat on her shirt is the same cat I believe that was on like her helmet as a 6-star character. Now, this time around, she's got a lot of weaponry. As you can see, she's got the bazooka on her back. She's got the AK in her hand as well, but she's also got this pistol, and this reminds me of like Snake Plissken's pistol from Escape from New York. Very, interesting looking pistol there, laser sight and everything. If we look on the left-hand side, there's more kitty cats. We've got one on the shoulders, looking directly at us, and then we've got two just lounging on Mia's lap here on the AK as well, by the looks of things. So pretty cool art. We've got more cats coming to the game effectively. It's interesting. If we look at the stats, you can see as a level 720 LB3 character, she has 21,062 attack, 12,537 defense, and 16,548 HP. She is an alert character, obviously. She's using that pistol as her main weapon. She's considered a damage dealer mythic character, of course. And she is part of the Allegiance X Saviors, which there are a couple of people in already. I believe them to be, is it Dwight and Ty? There could potentially be other characters too. We knew she was part of the Saviors in terms of her storyline because of she was recruited by Negan, but now she's part of the X Saviors. So we'll look at Mia's adrenaline rush here, and it is called Little Gunner. It is a 66 AP cost rush, which is pretty fast. Deal 400% damage to up to 5 enemies. Pretty basic in terms of what we're doing here. It's just flat damage. Nothing else is being brought to the table. No control, nothing like that. Just hitting 5 enemies. This is a lot of enemies. Obviously, when you hit more characters, the percentage damage is brought down just so you can't one-shot an entire team. But obviously, you can manipulate this with buffs and stuff like that. Her base damage is decent as well. It's over 20k. And if you compare her to someone else who's in the game who can hit an entire team like Tyrese, she has 25% more base damage than he does. And you know how base damage works? That's the sort of like bedrock for when all the multiplications come in. And that means that Mia's probably going to be able to get up to 100k plus without too much of a problem before like actual in-fight buffs. So that's obviously going to be devastating if you do team her up with the right characters in the right teams, defense down, so on and so forth. So we have got Mia's adrenaline rush up here, and as you can see, there's defense down on all of these characters. I don't know how this has happened. I'm guessing we're going to find out later on in the video. But we can just hit the rush button, and it will hit every enemy, and a bunch of them are going to be taken out, and one of them is not. Obviously, trait damage is going to be a thing, and also does depend on the enemy stats as well. The higher the HP, the higher the defense, the harder it is going to be to take them out. She has also got a small buff on herself, as you can see. She's got a 20% attack buff. That is, again, something we're going to have to look at later on in the kit. So if you look at the upgrades of the Adrenaline Rush, there are only 3 upgrades. At grade 3, it gets the AP cost reduced to 66 from initial 75. That's not going to be too much of a problem. If you get 1 copy of Mia, that's going to be easy. Grade 5 is going to require that second copy, and it is going to get a 200% damage boost. That is actually really important, obviously. So it goes from 200% up to 400%. And at LB2, it gets plus 2 damage target. So initially, it is only going to hit 3 enemies. That's still pretty decent, but the 5 enemies is where you want to get. So LB2 kind of seems very important if you want to get the best out of this character. She is considered a damage dealer. This is the damage part of her kit. So you want to get the best out of this. Grade 5 is still going to hit reasonably hard to 3 enemies, but her stats will obviously be lower. Limit Break 2 is where the stats are going to get obviously boosted up. Extra 2 targets. Effectively, you're doing 2,000% damage over those 5 enemies. So you're getting an extra 800% on that Limit Break 2, so that's actually quite a big deal. Now, I will say this rush looks extremely basic. I know some people probably look at it and just go, well, this isn't really doing that much. It's just doing a bit of damage. But pretty much the rest of her kit, from what I've seen already of it, is amplifying this. Everything is going towards boosting this as much as possible. So while it looks like 400% damage to up to 5 enemies, it's going to hit a lot harder than that. And one of the reasons for that is going to be the signature move, which we're going to look at next. It's called Combat Prep. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, Cooldown of 4 turns, number of uses unlimited. Up to 5 enemies get defense down block removed and get minus 25% defense for 2 turns. This character gets plus 20% attack, which increases by 20% every turn indefinitely. This is where a lot of those buffs were happening on that rush, example. And I will say that rush was on turn 1 because she can get AP very, very quickly. And this is crazy. This is obviously going to be countering Ezekiel quite heavily because Ezekiel has the defense down block. It's also going to counter Tara because she has the defense down block on turn 1. But the defense down coming in straight after that is brutal. Like, there's no way to counter that. And that's going to be around forever. This is quite powerful, like, long term, to be honest. So that's actually kind of crazy. And then the character getting 20% attack each turn. So the first turn she actually does this, she's going to get a 20% attack. The next turn it will go up to 40, 60, so on and so forth. So if you do a natural rush on turn 2, you'll have a 40% attack boost. Suddenly that 400% rush turns into a 560% rush because obviously it's 40% of 400% added on. So it just becomes massively amplified. And that's if you're only getting the 40%. If you've got other characters to do higher percentages, which is unlikely, but 40% is still pretty good, obviously. Now, while it does say this is going to increase indefinitely, there is obviously the possibility that Mia could have this removed. If she's taken out and then picked back up, she won't be picked back up and have the buff still. And then if there is someone who can remove buffs from enemies, this will obviously be removed from her. So it is worth noting, like Ransack, for instance, on weapons, and there are some characters with Ransack within their skills, their actual passives, but most of those, from what I remember, are offensive at the moment, so potentially Mia is going to be okay there. Although, there is the chance that potentially you'd want to use on a defense team. That's obviously down to you. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the Mia signature move, and I'm going to do it against a team that has Ezekiel as the leader, as I primarily see Mia being countering this leader skill, because that defense down block for 4 turns was powerful, but you always knew it was there, because if Ezekiel was the leader, you knew that was going to be the issue. Where it's not going to be an issue anymore if you have Mia. You swipe left, and all of those defense down blocks are going to be removed, but also defense down is going to be added. So like you see them all get removed, and then you see defense down all get added, and that means that all of these characters are going to take more damage on any hits they take while they've got defense down. Now there are some characters on this defense team that have like self cleanses and stuff like that. For instance, Angel, she's going to remove that, but because you can see Mia got her rush that quickly, if you have a command and you try and blow up the team, you could potentially do the damage on that first turn. We're not going to take out the full team again. Again, it comes down to stats. But the longer you wait with Mia's rush, the more damage it's going to do. Because you're going to see if I hit defend, it's a 20% attack buff right there. But now it's a 40% attack buff. So if I would have waited till the second turn for the natural rush, I would have done even heavier amounts of damage. Now, obviously, certain characters like Angel right here wouldn't have the defense down on them. So you've got to time it how you think is the best for your team, for the enemy's team, whether you've normalized the correct character, because obviously payback characters are going to be a big problem here. But Mia brings a lot of potential damage to the table for sure. So we're going to check the upgrades on the signature move, and you can see at grade 2 it gets +2 to the remove defense down block targets. So initially is only 3 enemies, but it gets boosted to 2 enemies really quickly. Grade 4, it gets upgrade, so it gets a 20% attack every turn indefinitely. So initially it potentially could be just 20% attack for like a certain amount of turns, but it doesn't really matter. Like I say, you get 1 Mia, you're going to be able to get them to grade 4 really easily. Once we start getting into the multiple Mias, you're going to have to get 3 Mias for LB1, and that is -1 to starting cooldown, so it goes from a 2-turn starting cooldown down to a 1-turn starting cooldown. That is actually going to make a massive difference because of her specialist skill, which we will get into later. If she wants to get a natural turn 2 rush where they've already got defense down block removed and she's got multiple, let's say, procs of that 20% attack, you're going to have to do that turn 1. So LB1 seems very important. LB3 gives a big upgrade, and it's the -25% defense for 2 turns to 5 enemies. So initially it's just defense down block removed, but afterwards it is 25% defense down that she actually applies. Now this is obviously going to amplify that rush that she brings to the table, but there are other characters that potentially could do defense down. So if you only get to, let's say, LB2 to get the best out of a rush and you just missed out on that LB3, you could obviously sacrifice some other characters in your team to try and get someone else to do defense down. But this, as a standalone, obviously makes Mia a lot more powerful, so it's less reliant on other characters to get things done as well. And you can use better support characters like normalizers to get rid of, you know, issue characters on that defense team when it comes to like payback, bides, potential outlast characters. So I think this signature move is actually really, really, really powerful. Like, honestly, it kind of makes defense down block useless forever now in the game, which is a bit of a shame. I think balancing these signature moves is probably a better way to go. If it did defense down block remove from 3 and then did defense down to those 3, it would still be really powerful, but it does it to 5, and then obviously defense down's 5. Unless there's some way that you can like bring in the future potentially buff protection, this is just going to make defense down block forever a non-issue. Now next up, we're going to look at Mythic Abilities of Mia. It's her passive skill. She has got agility, which is the increased in basic attack damage. Now she isn't going to do too many basic attacks. Like on the first 2 turns, she's not going to do a basic attack because she's going to do her signature move and then her rush because she is going to be gaining quite a lot of AP. If you command her, she's obviously not going to do an attack on the second turn, and then she'll rush again on the third turn. So I think she can be command rushed on the first turn and then do a natural rush on turn 3. So she may not even do a basic attack in the first 3 turns. So agility is not really that big a priority to actually upgrade here. Easily hidden is the next one. You probably saw it in some of the clips. At the start of each wave, 100% chance to get elusive for the rest of combat. This is actually really good because when you attack characters and do damage, you give them AP because of the damage they take. But if you've got elusive on yourself, you don't give AP when you do damage or when you get hit. So, you know, if she just, let's say, does 60% damage to every single enemy, because it's a really tanky team, they're not going to gain huge amounts of AP and start rushing and start healing and stuff. They're going to be basically like, what just happened? You know, one of them silly AI characters in like a Call of Duty game where it's just like, what was that? You know, it's like you just got attacked by someone, but yeah, whatever. The next one is concentration, 100% taunt resistance. It's just base, it's not a buff, so this can't be stolen away. It's just on the base. But it is worth noting that if she does get taunted by someone precision, this will get reduced down to 60%. But that's still pretty good, considering if you had a mod that was, let's say, 75%, that would get reduced down to 35%. So obviously it's much better to have 100% taunt resistance. And like I say, it will just act exactly like a mod does. Her last passive is called Tougher Than You. When rushing, 50% increased trait advantage damage against tough enemies. This basically means that she is a fast character when rushing, and that's going to be very useful against these tough defense teams. She is, of course, alert, so she is susceptible to being attacked, but there can be a bit of a bonus there. You know, you can potentially set her up to, you know, rush faster. If you do AP on defense, for instance, she doesn't necessarily need AP on attack on her weapon because of her specialist skill, which we will look into. So it'll be interesting. It will be interesting indeed. Okay, so I figure the best way to show you how Mia works is her on a defense team. And I can just select her and do Steve's taunt on his signature move. And you'll see she just doesn't get taunted. It just says immune. She can't get taunted. Steve is a tank, so he's not going to reduce the chance of that actually being able to be resisted, so it's always going to be resisted. So if those characters like I think it's like Marcus, Skeleton Steve, and I want to say Romanov have got taunts, quite heavy, like 3-turn taunts on defense teams, they're not going to be a problem for Mia at all. Now if I attack her, you're going to see I don't gain any AP with basic attacks. So if I attack her with William, watch his AP gain. No basic attack AP. It's because of that elusive. It's going to work whether she gets attacked or whether she does the attacks. So it's actually pretty good. Now you're seeing she is doing some stuns and stuff. I put a defensive weapon in her hands just so she's not getting wrecked, but it's pretty much as simple as that. That's how it's going to work on if she's on a defense team, but it's also going to work if she's on an attack team being attacked by that defense team or if she's attacking that defense team. Simple as that, pretty much. And obviously, while I didn't show you the trait advantage damage that she's going to get against tough characters, it just works exactly like a combat mod. Imagine you've got a combat mod with plus 50% damage against tough characters. It's in her passives. And I've been told it actually stacks with combat mods, so if you did give her another one, they'd stack together. So the amplification there against tough characters is extremely good there. If we look at the upgrades on the passives, you can see she gets the first half of easily hidden at grade 1, the first half of agility at grade 2, the second half of easily hidden, making it 100% chance to get that elusive at grade 3. At grade 4, she gets the 50% taunt resistance, so it's just going to be 50%, like a half decent mod, not very good one, but half decent. And at grade 5, she gets 20% increased trait advantage damage against tough enemies. So already at grade 5, she's actually got pretty good passives. It's not like some other characters where she might only get a percentage chance for these to actually happen. They're all happening, but they just obviously will be enhanced when they are fully upgraded. And that's when it comes into the limit breaks. At LB1, she gets the second half of agility. Obviously, like I said, this isn't the most important passive she's got here, so you're only going to get bonuses off this for basic attacks. But then you're going to get the second half of the concentration, which is 100% taunt resistance then in LB2. And at LB3, you're going to get another 30% stacked on top of that 20%, making it 50% trait advantage damage against tough enemies. This one's going to be the big one. And like I said, it does stack with combat mods that do the same thing. So the ability to potentially wreck some of these defense teams that have tough characters on them has been increased. But it is kind of risk-reward with Mia. Like I say, she is an alert character herself. She's going to get attacked. You've got to make sure that she has reasonable survivability. Bonus HP from other characters is going to be important. Guardian shields. But those characters are definitely available to be teamed up with Mia already. Now next we're going to look at her specialist skill, and it is called Amped. And while this isn't going to amplify the damage output of her rush, it will amplify the speed. How quickly she can get this off, which is definitely important. At the start of this character's turn, if they are 100% HP, they get 50% of their max AP. It's guaranteed that she's going to get this on turn 1 right now. There's no way to stop her from having 100% HP off the turn 1. And that's why you saw her in previous clips getting 33 AP just randomly. And that's because she gets 50%, and she's a 66 AP character, so that means obviously she's going to be able to get a turn 2 natural rush, a first turn command rush if you so wish. Now after turn 1 is completely RNG. If she does get dogpiled by lots of characters, it's going to be very hard for her to obviously not be 100% HP. However, if you do have someone with like combat medic and gives her huge amounts of bonus HP, she could potentially go from that character that has like 20,000 HP base once fully maxed out with lieutenants to having 40,000 HP base with the bonus HP. The second it goes into her normal red bar HP though, that will make this specialist skill not work. As long as she's only taking bonus HP damage, she's going to be absolutely fine. Okay, this time around, I'm not using any other AP buffs coming in on this team. You can see it's just the 33 AP she got from her specialist, and she's going to obviously be able to get the other 33 required from her signature move. The best thing about her signature move is it's a zero risk signature move too, so you can do it without attacking somebody, so she's not going to be controlled doing it. And now I can decide, do I want to command her turn 1? Do I want to wait until turn 2? I can do it whichever way I want. I'm going to command her turn 1 this time around. And this time I'm going to just show you how her AP gain works. You can see she's going to get some bonus HP for taking those characters down. And that's going to be something else we're going to look at in a second. But we should see maybe a little bit of damage come off. She's not going to get attacked. This is actually perfect. She should get 33 AP again. And then obviously she can't go because she's been commanded. So this is turn 2. And then if she doesn't get attacked again, turn 3, she's going to get a natural rush. She's just going to be able to rush straight away, kind of how I assumed it would be. Exactly how I assumed it would be. Obviously, against somebody like Angel, it's going to be very difficult. You're going to have other characters come in, remove some of these buffs, maybe do debuffs as well. But really good potential in terms of just how quick her rush can turn around. So we'll just rush again. Against 100% defense, it's probably not going to do too much at all, indeed. And then I'll just defend on everybody. We want to see the turnaround. And the next turn, she's going to take some damage. But now, you can see she's up to 33 AP again. You can see just the AP gain potential of this specialist skill is very high. This is only turn 4, and she's already rushed twice, done her signature move, and she's halfway to her next rush. So that's her specialist skill. Amped is a newer specialist skill. We have got one other character in the game, which is the Easter Eva recently did have Amped as well. And I did actually talk about this specialist skill with some of the other creators in a podcast recently, if you didn't check that out. So I think this actually has good potential. This is another attack team character mainly. I see some potential with her on defense team, but you're gonna have to get her very, very specifically. But in the future, Amped could come to a defense team, which will be interesting. We did talk about it in that video as well. Now, of course, Mia does have an attached weapon, and this is where she was getting some of that bonus HP, which is very useful for her. And it is Mia's Savage Silence Pistol. It has got a 35% attack base, a huge bonus to AP when attacking, and it has got improved self-healing. When killing a target, a 60% chance to regain 100% HP, gain 50% bonus HP, and get 50% defense for 2 turns. And then in the last slot, she has another increase to her rush damage, which is increased rush damage by 10%. That one you can craft in the armory, but that's going to work very good for her for sure. Now, the one thing, obviously, there is a spelling mistake in here, that I do get these characters in a kind of like beta state, so sometimes there are some spelling mistakes and stuff like that. Once these characters go into the game, these things are generally fixed. So I know a lot of people bring attention to these sometimes, but that's the way it goes. Now, when it comes to the pistol itself, obviously this is an improved version of the self-healing. The fact that it's 60% chance is not, you know, fantastic, but the fact that she can blow up an entire team means she's got multiple chances of having this proc. And it can obviously proc multiple times, so if she has got like heal reduction on her and she doesn't gain the 100% HP and she only gains like, let's say 50%, she'll gain that 50% multiple times. So she'll always get up to that 100% max HP, which will make her specialist skill proc for the next turn, which is pretty much what this weapon seems to be there for me. So this is Gold Mythic Mia, the second Mia to come to RTS, and I think she is actually pretty good, obviously. Very useful against certain particular teams. For instance, Ezekiel leads. I think Ezekiel is going to go down in the pecking order of the leaders. He pretty much is still up there as the number 1/number 2 leader in the game since the beginning. So this character is not a big surprise when it comes to countering him in some way, but I think such a heavy counter is, like I say, got some risk to it. Just basically defense down block is no longer going to be a thing, pretty much, unless it is able to be brought in like at turn 2 or turn 3 by a buff, because obviously most people are going to use Mia's one on turn 1. So there's the thing. And then you'd have to kind of hold off on her signature move to use it strategically against those sort of characters, and I guess there's some potential there, to be fair. But Mia herself is actually, you know, like I say, really powerful. Each part of her kit does slowly give her small boost towards her rush, but they all stack together to give it a big boost, just to give that big amped smash basically on the rush. You can see it's like a bazooka hitting the floor as the picture, and pretty much the amount of damage it's doing, pretty much. But what do you think of Gold Mythic Mia, guys? I want you to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning into this video, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.